Hi again. Last week we talked about Buddhism 101, the basics of Buddhism, the skeleton of Buddhism, the outline of Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths taught by Buddha 2,500 years ago, and his eightfold path, path of enlightenment, path of awakening, comprised of ethical training, meditation and mindfulness training, and third, the wisdom and love training, Shila, Samadhi, and Prajna, the three liberating trainings that any of us can undertake and become as enlightened, as wise as Buddha himself did. Anyone can do it. We need to emphasize that because we all have within us the inner light or the luminous spirit, the luminous Buddha nature. All beings, not just human beings. We all have this potential or this spiritual nature, this uncorruptible, untrammeled, innate, radiant spirit or clear light, as we call it in Tibetan, the Buddha nature. So today we're going to talk about Buddhism 202 and continue on with our little course here in the Buddhist path of enlightenment. After the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path comes the six transcendental virtues, the paramitas, the 6 perfections or 10 perfections, the paramitas, the transformative practices, Panacean virtues, how we can become a bodhisattva, a Buddha to be, an awakened spiritual hero, wisdom warrior, enlightened leader, bodhisattva, a wish-fulfilling jewel-like leader and benefactor to all beings who are all caught in the darkness of delusion and confusion, not knowing who and what we are and our place in the universe and our connection to that which is greater than any of us, yet innate or immanent in each of us, by whatever name we might call it. So the Buddha said he was a bodhisattva for many, many, many lifetimes before awakening to full, complete, unexcelled enlightenment or Buddhahood, the fullest purification and actualization or blossoming of all the positive qualities latent in each of us. Buddhahood, enlightenment. Anybody can be a bodhisattva by setting our sights, elevating our gaze, raising our aspirations to reach full, complete enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, recognizing that we're all inseparable. That's the meaning of Mahayana, the great boat, the big vehicle, the vehicle of universal deliverance, recognizing we're all in the same boat together, that if we don't pull together, we get pulled apart. So the Bodhisattva practices these 10 Panacean virtues that reach all the way beyond to the other shore, enlightenment, nirvana, recognizing the secret of emptiness or transparency of reality, recognizing shunyata, openness, mystery, the things are not as they seem to be. The secret of the Bodhisattva is being there while getting there every single step of the way. That every step of the way to heaven is heaven, as the saints say. Being fully here while getting there, not waiting. Awakening right now. So we practice first generosity on the external, material, internal consciousness, our attitudinal giving of ourselves, our time and energy, our love and encouragement, and on the secret or innermost oneness level, in which contentment is the greatest form of wealth, non-attachment, being in touch with our infinite completeness, abundance, fullness through non-attachment and contentment. When we're content, who would we steal from? Who would we mislead? Who would we exploit or abuse? So all the virtues naturally flow forth from these practices. If we practice dana, paramita, the transcendental virtue or transformative practice of true generosity, unconditional giving, on the outer, inner, and secret, the objective, behavioral, inner, attitudinal, and ultimate consciousness or mystical oneness level. The second virtue of the Bodhisattva is ethical self-discipline. We've already talked about that. Externally, good behavior. Internally, being straight with ourselves, authentic and true. And ultimately, at the oneness level, the innermost secret level, being in touch with our own innate purity of heart, our innate, pure, untrammeled, uncorruptible inner light, or pure spirit, bodhicitta, the Buddhist heart, mind within. Third is patience, paramita, Kshanti paramita, the transformative practice, Panacean virtue of patient forbearance, which is the antidote to anger, hatred, which is the root of violence. Patience is a very difficult spiritual practice, especially in the face of harm. But we can learn to see even the enemy, the adversary, the critic, as our greatest teacher. They teach us to let go, that we're not in control. And thus we gain in humility, arrogance is tamed, and so on. They teach us to be in it for the long term, and to look for the long-term implications and not be caught up in instant self-gratification or just knee-jerk stimulus response reactions. We learn the steps to mindful anger management, how we can create some space between stimulus and response so we don't just react with a knee-jerk reflex to harm from outside. So patience paramita, for me, is perhaps one of the most important virtues for our time. Fourth is enthusiastic effort or courageous enthusiasm, diligence, perseverance. A bodhisattva can't really take on this ultimate altruistic spiritual activism. After all, the bodhisattva is the ultimate social and spiritual activist, dedicated to the ultimate good for the greatest number, dedicated to total deliverance and spiritual enlightenment for all sentient beings without exception. Bodhisattva needs great heroic perseverance and diligence and so forth. Fifth is mindfulness, meditation, contemplation. We all need a contemplative dimension to our lives, to look inward as well as outward, to find out who and what we truly are. Mindfulness, meditation, which we can do in so many ways, not just sitting, but also walking meditation, chanting meditation, prayer, yoga, tai chi, and so forth. Increasing our alert presence of mind, raising our consciousness, unfolding our cosmic awareness through meditation and such contemplative practices. The Six Bodhisattva Virtue, or paramita, is transcendental wisdom, seeing things as they are, not as they ain't. Wisdom, seeing it as it is, not as we would like it to be. Seeing things as they are, not as we are, through our projections and interpretations. Knowing right from wrong, as King Solomon called wisdom. Knowing ourselves. In Eastern thought, we understand that to know others, to know the world is knowledge, mere knowledge. To know ourselves is wisdom. And when I see myself in you and you in myself, who could I harm? Who would I exploit? So we realize the oneness. Externally, it's an uncommon common sense, the development of wisdom. Internally, it's self-knowledge, self-awareness, insight, and spiritual illumination. But at the ultimate oneness level, it's total oneness, cosmic consciousness. It's inexpressible, yet very experienceable. So these are the six basic paramitas, or transcendental virtues, leading up to wisdom, enlightenment. And the next four are more like expressions of enlightenment. Seventh is skillful means. Wisdom sees what needs to be done. Skillful means and method, upaya paramita, knows how to accomplish them, is resourceful, imaginative, competent, and so forth. Eighth is spiritual powers. The bodhisattva needs powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal monks, like super monk, in order to help all beings, like healing powers, leadership powers, communicative powers, and so on. Ninth is high aspiration, the bodhisattva's vow, aspiration, resolve, commitment, dedication to the ultimate good for the greatest number. And 10th, last but not least, is jnana paramita, innate wakefulness or pristine awareness, cosmic consciousness, leading directly to Buddhahood. So these are the 10 paramitas or Panacean virtues of the bodhisattva, which brings us to the brink of full enlightenment or Buddhahood. And by practicing these today in a very practical way, here and now in our own life, we too can become more enlightened. These are the 10 principles of enlightened living. May these be your principles for your spiritual life. Thank you. All of this can be found explained in detail in my new book, Buddha is as Buddha does, the 10 original practices for enlightened living. An explication of the Bodhisattva way, how to be a Bodhisattva, the Buddha heart, the Buddha nature, and how to practice these in daily life, full of stories, ancient and modern. So I recommend that to you if you're interested in this subject. And then we pray as Bodhisattvas from now until reaching perfect enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. I shall practice these transcendental virtues, these paramitas, until we all together complete the spiritual journey all the way to enlightenment. Jancho samcho krimpoche makye panan kye gyochi kye pa nyapa me pa ya gane kandu pelwa sho.